Ballistic movements are movements which reach a maximum velocity and acceleration in a short period of time, things like throwing or striking. How do movement patterns from other sports compare with those in internal martial arts? For this analysis, I've chosen sports that involve throwing and striking. For the throwing, I've selected javelin and the slide and glide technique of shot put throwing. And then for the hitting, we have baseball batting and tennis. And then onward to boxing. And then comparing movements from Tai Chi and Xing Yi. In most of these movements, we see what is known as a contralateral step, meaning a step with the leg opposite of the throwing or striking arm. This movement is common in most of them, but not all of them. In some movements, we have an ipsilateral step, meaning a step with the same leg as the striking or throwing arm. And then in some movements, there's just a pivot. Another component of these movements is a counter rotation or stretch, with the stretch often being contralaterally across the torso, meaning from opposite shoulder and hip. We also see the stretch most often across the chest and vertically along the torso. The blue shading represents areas that are stretched and or the path of rotation. We also see that the stretch extends all the way into the adductors and glute muscles from the torso. The last component we see is a strong rotation involving strong contraction of the trunk muscles and often the posterior chain, meaning the glutes and the hamstrings. Although often movements also involve a contraction of the adduct and the pectoral muscle. One thing I want to point out is not only do we see contraction on the front of the body through the obliques, but also in the back of the body through the trapezius and the lats. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button so you can see my next video. And don't forget, I'm not an expert, I just play one on social media.